Hey guys, it's Ari the Rich Auntie, and today's topic we're gonna be talking about when it's time to let go. So let's get started. Hi guys, if you're new to this channel, my name is Ari the Rich Auntie. I do content on auntie chats, so think of them like girl chats, some vlogs, as well as also soft life on a budget. So if those three niches are your vibe, stay tuned and let's get started with today's topic. Hey guys, I'm in my jammies today and I wanted to do this topic because it hits very close to home. Right now I'm in a transition period where I am pivoting careers. I'm going through the motions. This topic is very personal for me because as an immigrant daughter, specifically the middle immigrant daughter, I feel like there was a lot of pressure on me to not only perform in the sense where do better than my parents, but then also to be a role model to my younger sibling. So it's just a lot of pressure that I grew up already internalizing on top of just societal pressures on being a woman of color in a predominantly male field. I went to school for biology. I got my master's in infectious disease, and I was working in a biopharma company, I'm not gonna include the name, for almost 4 years. And I decided one day after a long and very hard conversation with myself that I no longer wanna do this shit. Going into college, we're fed the idea that, oh, just major in something that you're passionate about or that you care about. When you're an immigrant child, guys, that's not really an option. You gotta major in a study that will pay off, and STEM fields pay the most, so I decided to go into it having a STEM degree. Once I got the STEM degree, I thought that things were gonna get easier for me in the sense where, okay, I'm gonna be getting paid more, so that means I'll have more leisure money, and that also means that I can explore life and I'll be happier. Because you go in with the notion that like, oh my God, more money does equate to more happiness. I grew up in a working class background, so money wasn't the most easily available. So when I had graduated the degrees, I had this set plan that like, hey, I'm gonna figure this all out. I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna have the career. And once I went into the career, I started to realize that I was losing my sparkle. I was losing my sense of self. I went into it specifically with this company. They prioritize putting patients first, as well as also prioritizing the health and well-being, supposedly. But like most capitalistic corporations, especially in healthcare, they care about the money more than the patient. It was just really disheartening to see just like the shortcuts I was witnessing in the lab, as well as also seeing that no matter how much effort and how much of me I was putting into this, regardless, it wasn't going to end in the fulfillment that I thought it was going to give me. I had to decide for myself if this is something I want to do for the rest of my life, in a sense where as my shifts kept getting longer, my sense of purpose was starting to fade in the background. So my sense of purpose was starting to fade because we started getting overworked. And the more and more I was working, the more I realized that I'm not really passionate about this, because I went in thinking that I was going to save lives. There's so much more other factors that go into their health and wellness and well-being and all that. You're just part of the process. And going into this specific role, I thought I was going to be more hands-on, more direct into changing lives. And through being overworked and through being in an environment that's just nasty, and through management and just being a woman of color in a predominantly white male field, it gets to you. I wasn't being appreciated. I was hardly being seen. I was being ostracized because I wasn't the friendly Black girl, or I wasn't the social Black girl. I was just honestly there to do my job and go home. And because I was just such an outlier in this space, it just was a hostile environment to work in. And I realized that despite me going to school for like 8 years to get the degree and to be in that space, that doesn't necessarily mean that's end game for me. And I was also considering like, oh, hey, like maybe if I switch to a different company, it's gonna be different. It's not, it's the same thing. Unfortunately, it's the same thing. When you work in biopharma, if you're a technician or you're a scientist or whatever the case may be, you're on the floor, on the lab, that is your life. I just knew regardless where in biopharma I was not gonna be happy. that sense of purpose and that sense of self and that sense of I'm gonna power through to get through this. It's just not for me. The environment is just not for me. I don't see myself thriving in that environment. And the longer I stayed at this company, the more and more I started to lose my sparkle, in the sense where I started to see that I started becoming someone I'm not. I was drained on the weekends, wasn't socializing as much. I had cortisol face, y'all. Like, my face was like really puffy. It's still recovering now, but like, imagine just being moon face every hour of the day. And I just had to realize time after time that it was time for me to go. And there were multiple instances at that job in particular where it was telling me, like, God was showing me signs like, hey, you don't need to be in this environment no more. And I just kept resisting because I thought that if I were to walk away from that job, if I were to get up and leave everything I worked for, that my parents sacrificed was for nothing. Them coming into America and building a life so my siblings and I can have more opportunities that they did, all of that was gonna go in the drain if I left. That's the mindset I had going in. It was a very limiting belief. But being that now it's been 3 months since I left, I'm starting to see more and more that their sacrifice was still worth it, even if I'm not in this position, because I have the option to actually walk away from a toxic dynamic. I have the option to look for something else. My parents didn't have that option. It was either work to pay bills and to provide for us, or to be in poverty and not have the resources. Like, they were working with two extreme ends. Whereas me, I'm not working with the same ends, because the fact that I was able to go to college, go to graduate school, and to have more options for me. So that although, yeah, I'm in an icky place where I'm fun employed right now, this is just temporary, because I know that I will find another job that fulfills most of my needs. What is the point of being able to buy these things if you're not able to enjoy it? I was working 14 to 16-hour shifts. Because this was a startup and because we were understaffed and I was training people but still not getting promoted, and it was just a thing where it was just exploitation after exploitation. And honestly, guys, I was so exhausted. So when I say it's time to walk away from something, you know it's time to walk away from something because there's 5 easy signs. 1, you're becoming someone you're not. You're losing that sparkle. You're losing your sense of self. You're just not you. 2, you know you're being mistreated. There's no if, what, buts. If you were to sit down with your close friend and explain all the conditions you were going through to them, do you think that your close friend will tell you to stay in that environment? Like, not. Like, when I left the company and I was talking to someone who still is in the company and kind of like explaining what we were going through in my department, she was just like, wow, girl, like, you've been through a lot. And just hearing myself say that, it was just like, I would never wish this on my worst enemy, like what I was going through, honestly. It was just, nah. So that's like the second thing. Third thing you know it's time to walk away is when it just compromises your morals, your values, your beliefs. If you're no longer, I'm not saying you have to be the most excited to go to work, but if you're dreading going to work, if you're crying before you work, if you're like angry before work, you don't need to be in that environment. It's time to let it go and to walk away. 4th thing, when it's time to let go, is when you notice that you're in a stunted place. Although I was training people at my position, I was starting up initiatives, and I was growing, as in like pushing myself to do tasks outside of what's expected for me, my efforts weren't seen by upper management. I was just being by upper management. I was just being played. Honestly, there was no promise of promotion. There was no conversations around next steps for me. It was very much so like I'm still in the same place and I'm just stuck. And that sense of stuck is just like, nah, that's inhibiting your growth. That's inhibiting what potential you have. And if I would have stayed in that environment, I would have been doing the same thing that I was doing. Training people with no bonuses, no acknowledgement, not even the thank you. Would have been picking up tasks that weren't of my calling. Like, guys, there was a period of time where I was translating things. Nowhere in my job description does it say I'm a translator. But I was doing it because I was like, hey, if I show them that I can work hard, then they can promote me. And that's not the case. Or the last sign you know it's time to walk away is if you start to notice like physical changes within you. So I talked a little bit about this, the cortisol face. My face was so puffy and round, like, y'all. clothes was fitting me tight, as in like bloating was a constant thing from just all the stress. I was eating a lot of junk food as comfort food to like soothe myself during this time. My hair was thinner, like it just wasn't like, thank God I have what I have now. But like, guys, looking in the mirror was becoming difficult because I started seeing someone I'm not. I looked unhappy. I looked inflamed. Like, you know, it's time to go when you literally look yourself in the mirror and cannot recognize yourself. Look yourself in the mirror on a spiritual level, you know you're not happy. Look yourself in the mirror and you see just the chaos, like you don't look well. And there was a period of time where I just did not look well. And I knew that if I don't walk away from this job is going to bite me in the ass long term, as in it's gonna affect my health, it's gonna affect my relationships with others. And it was just enough. Like, when I say it's time to let go from a job, you have to do it to protect yourself, because listen, once I walked away from that job, blessings came about. I had more time for myself. I started to de-inflame, like depuff myself. I put more time towards my hobbies. I started getting back on YouTube. Like, I started doing things that I used to love to do but didn't have the capacity to do because I was drained from this job. I was sleeping again. I was able to start dating again. Like, guys, I didn't even have time to go on dates for real. Like, it's hard to form a connection with somebody if you're in survival mode for your job. No job should take that from you, period. Like, that quality of life, it's just not it. That's not it. So when I say it's time to let go and you really have to let go, I truly mean that you have to pull yourself out of the situation and just let that shit go. I know it's hard for my girls pivoting careers right now, but my best advice for you right now is to prioritize your wellness, prioritize yourself, and prioritize your soul. Like, when I tell you these jobs are heartless and they were really trying to transform you into someone you're not and to get you out, you're nasty, it's just not worth it. Truly. You know what's best for yourself, and you know on a spiritual level, because I'm so big on intuition and spirituality, if something's not for you, you will know it's in your gut that this is not for you, and that's okay. So even though right now I'm going through some ebbs and flows and expensive pain, as I like to say it, I know I made the right choice by walking away. Sometimes the best choice is the hardest choice. And I know that walking away without another job aligned was a bit reckless. And I know that walking away without necessarily a plan was a bit bold, but no job, no career, no aspirations will take from my spirit. And that's my best piece of advice for you guys. All right, guys, this is the end of today's episode. If you guys like more content like this, please subscribe and don't forget to choose yourself, all right? Bye, guys.